The take, there is a test that separates competent governments from exceptional ones. It is not how they perform in times of stability. Most can manage that. It is how they communicate when the world around them is genuinely on fire. When certainty is impossible and panic is possible. That is the test that matters. As someone who has lived in the UAE for over 15 years, I have watched this test play out repeatedly. From the COVID-19 pandemic to regional geopolitical tensions, to the current complexities the GCC faces on multiple fronts, the UAE government has demonstrated something that many Western democracies genuinely struggle to deliver: consistent, transparent, and reassuring communication with its residents. Not performative, not reactive, deliberate. Let me be direct about what this looks like in practice. During every period of regional tension, the UAE's approach has followed a clear playbook. Official channels activate rapidly. Messaging is unified across federal and local government. Residents receive clear guidance through multiple platforms: SMS alerts, official social media, press conferences, and dedicated government portals. There is no ambiguity. There is no contradiction between agencies. The tone is calm, factual, and protective. This matters because crisis communication is not just about information transfer. It is about trust architecture, and trust, once built, is extraordinarily valuable in a crisis. The 2026 Edelman Trust Barometer confirmed what residents here already know. The UAE now ranks joint first globally for government trust, scoring 80 out of 100, tied with China, and marking an 8-point rise in a single year. Across the broader UAE population, 86% trust the government, and 88% trust their employer. Saudi Arabia, it is worth noting, also scored 73, placing it among the world's most trusted governments alongside India, 74, and Indonesia, 73. Compare these figures with the United Kingdom at 44, the United States at 47, France at 42, and Japan at 38. The gulf, no pun intended, is extraordinary, and it is not accidental. It is engineered through years of consistent, credible, and proactive communication. Perhaps the most compelling demonstration of this was the leadership transition in May 2022, following the passing of President Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. In many nations, the death of a head of state triggers uncertainty, market volatility, and communication vacuums. In the UAE, the transition to President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed was executed with a calm, dignity, and institutional clarity that reinforced rather than undermined public confidence. The messaging was unified. The timeline was transparent. The continuity of governance was never in question. It was succession planning not as a constitutional formality, but as a masterclass in national communication. The world watched a nation grieve and govern simultaneously, without a single moment of doubt about its direction. This institutional confidence has been reinforced over the past decade by the increasing visibility and accessibility of the next generation of leadership. Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai, has built a genuine personal connection with residents through social media, public engagement, and a leadership style that authentically blends tradition with modernity. His presence during crises, visiting flood-affected areas, launching emergency response initiatives, communicating directly through digital channels, has created a model of accessible leadership that resonates deeply with the UAE's diverse, digitally connected population. It is a deliberate strategy, leadership that is seen, heard, and present when it matters. What the UAE understands, and what many other nations are still learning the hard way, is that silence is never neutral in a crisis. Silence is interpreted. It breeds speculation, misinformation, and fear. The UAE's National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority, NCEMA, operates on a principle that every communications professional should study and internalize. Be first, be right, be credible. When NCEMA speaks, it speaks with one voice, backed by verified information, and it does so before rumor fills the vacuum. The 2026 Edelman data reveals a wider pattern that makes the UAE's achievement even more significant. Globally, trust has drained from national government leaders by 16 points over the past 5 years.
7 in 10 people worldwide now report unwillingness to trust someone with different values or background. Developed markets are retreating into insularity. Against that current, the UAE, one of the most diverse nations on earth, with over 200 nationalities, has moved emphatically in the opposite direction. Nearly half the population remains open to trusting across differences, placing the UAE among the least insularly minded markets globally. That is not just a communications outcome. It is a governance outcome, decades in the making. The GCC today faces a genuinely complex operating environment. Regional conflicts, energy market volatility, economic diversification pressures, and constant international media scrutiny create a landscape where every government statement carries weight far beyond its borders. In this environment, the UAE's approach to crisis communication is not just good practice, it is a strategic asset. It protects foreign investment confidence, maintains social cohesion in one of the world's most diverse populations, and reinforces the nation's positioning as a stable, forward-looking hub in an uncertain region. For corporate leaders and communications professionals, the lessons are genuinely transferable. Clear chains of communication authority, pre-approved messaging frameworks that can be activated rapidly, consistent tone across all channels and all spokespeople, visible, accessible leadership during uncertainty, a regular cadence of updates even when there is nothing new to report, because confirming stability is itself a message. And above all, treating your audience as intelligent adults who deserve facts, not spin. The UAE did not arrive at this capability by accident. It invested, over decades, in communications infrastructure, leadership development, succession planning, and a governance culture that treats transparent communication as a pillar of national security. That is the kind of long-term thinking that builds trust capital, and trust capital is the only currency that holds its value when everything else is in flux. The Signal, the UAE ranked joint first globally in the 2026 Edelman Trust Barometer for Government Trust, scoring 80 out of 100, tied with China, an 8-point rise in 1 year. Saudi Arabia scored 73, also placing among the world's most trusted governments. By comparison, UK 44, US 47, France 42, Japan 38. Global trust in national government leaders has fallen 16 points over 5 years. The GCC is a striking exception. Source: 2026, Edelman Trust Barometer. Global Report, Edelman Trust Institute, January 2026. The question: if your organization faced a genuine crisis tomorrow, could you activate a unified, transparent communications response within hours, or would your stakeholders be left to fill the silence themselves with speculation and assumption? Sources and further reading: 2026, Edelman Trust Barometer, Global Report, Edelman Trust Institute, January 2026. UAE National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority, NCEMA, Crisis Communication Protocols, World Economic Forum, Global Risks Report, 2026, Trust, Polarization and Insularity, Institute for Government, UK, Lessons from Crisis Communication Failures, 2025, Harvard Kennedy School, Crisis Communication in the Digital Age, Boyne, A. et al., 2024. Common Ground is published weekly. If this was shared with you, subscribe to receive it directly. The views expressed in this newsletter are Jonathan Ashton's own personal perspectives. They do not represent the views of his employer or of any professional body, trade association, or member organization of which he is a part.